everybody, this is going to be a full match breakdown of my performance at the South Carolina State Championship. For those who don't know me, my name is Dillion Walker, 19 years old, currently a full-time student in college, and I'm blessed to say I was able to place second overall as well as win the open event at this match. So I'm going to go over my mental process, visual process, stage planning, footwork, all the good stuff, as well as the bad stuff. You know, not everyone's perfect, so I'm going to cover my mistakes and show you guys how I'm really seeing what I need to improve next. Hope you guys enjoy.
Stand by.
All right, so that was stage one. So my sixth stage of the match and the second half of the match for me. So as you can see, this stage had a lot of running, a lot of dead time. That means that points are even more important because you know it's going to be a lower hit factor stage or even a medium hit factor stage. I believe this one ended up being in like the 6s or the 7s. So just wanted to make sure I had good points out of the start. And so I'm not going super hard on this double stack just because I know I have this 20-something yard open target. It was not necessarily a high risk target. It's just one of those targets where a lot of people are going to be dropping points. So I want to be able to collect points there and gain points back on my other competition. But it was this later half of the match that it really was important. So for me, it was just about maintaining consistency and trying to gain points back because I knew I was already in a deficit. So what can I do to gain back those 70-something points? So I really like my feet here in this back part. I was able to blend this position well enough to where I'm basically on this very right side of the fault line without losing any shooting time or any points, because really I got closer to this far double stack and I was able to move on this open target. So I gained the distance from the start to this end of the box just from shooting this left target on the move. And I'm not dropping any points. I'm just gaining time there. So stage planning thing for me here, I really wish I had shot the farther open, the big popper that activates the holy monkey, and then shot this open target. I believe that's what Leo Grandis did too, and it came out on the second pass for him perfectly, where you can see here I'm waiting on it. And then I really like my reload here and how I shot this left open target. And then while transitioning, you can see my right foot's planted. And so that way when I get the sight picture that I want, I'm already settled. So that way I don't have to worry about pulling any shots in places that I don't want to, and I'm not going to feel just because when you're so target focused and you're seeing the dot, you're not really focused on what the gun is doing and its movement because you're not dot focused. So I always shoot target focused, but I'm also aware of what my body is doing because I know I'm not really going to see everything that I'm doing. Obviously, you can see how the dot is reciprocating to your contact, but what if you don't have contact, right? Because my left foot was floating. So how does that affect what I'm seeing and what I know what my timing should be on these shots? And I don't mean I know I'm going to shoot exactly 0.3 splits on these shots. It just means I know when my sights are applicable and I know that I can shoot because my sights allow me to shoot. I was super happy with that one, even with the small mistakes that cost me some time. But I knew I still got points back, so I was okay with it. All right, so this was stage 2. So my 7th stage of the match, pressure's high. I knew I needed solid runs, but this stage is one of those where it wasn't to my strong shoots, and I knew Tilly had a really, really good run. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to win this stage. So what can I do to just collect points and make sure I'm not losing too many points just because of how high the point level is on this stage? So I basically just copied Tilly's plan. I knew he went left. I wasn't sure the exact order he shot this back stuff in, but I really liked being able to shoot these two aggressively off the draw as opposed to stepping to the right of the port like most people were doing. Another big thing that I'm seeing here, there was a tuxedo here in the port. I shot 4 shots at the tuxedo because I had 2 shots that I called that weren't acceptable. So you can see here something that I've been struggling with is maintaining focus and grip pressure on the harder shots. You can see my gun is doing a lot more movement than it usually does, because I'm under gripping the gun and focusing more on the dot and the target as opposed to what my hands are doing. Because it doesn't matter how good of a sight picture you have if your trigger control sucked. And in this instance, my trigger control sucked, even though I had good sight pictures, but I was just pulling shots to the left because I relaxed my left hand and I was overcompensating with my right hand. So big thing here for me is shooting the activator, like the bobber array, before shooting these far no shoot targets. A lot of people, when they have a activator or some kind of sequence after a hard shot, they will tend to rush the hard shot. Something that I struggled with for a long time. And so it wasn't hard for me to be able to just shoot this sequence and then go straight to the no shoots, because it isn't a bad transition. The only transition that you're really adding is the distance from the no shoot to the steal that is being added, but you're also lessening the risk factor. And I was able to get good points on those far targets. So I was very happy with that. So at this point in the run, I knew I was going to be off pace by a little bit just because I had so many makeups on the tuxedo. So I'm just focused on getting to the end, collecting good points, and just surviving the stage, not doing anything drastic to where I'm dropping mics or having a lot of makeup shots on this big popper. Just, maintaining good levels of focus and execution to where I can make up points in the later stages, because I know those last 3 stages were a lot more towards my strong suits. All right, so that was stage 3. Honestly, pretty good run for me. I was able to come off with the stage win. These were points that I needed. I really, truly needed for the remainder of this match, because I knew these stages were more towards my strong suit. So if I just collected good points and trusted my process, I knew I could come off with a stage win or 2, which I needed to crawl back from that deficit that I created for myself on stages 9 and 10. Basically, everybody on this stage, except for our squad, I believe, started in the right corner where I went to after this first position. There are a couple of reasons I started in this left position. One, this target here was super, it was a tough position because you had to be in this corner to be able to get it. And even then, it was a slight bit of a lean. Like you can see on my draw, I'm doing a slight lean here where I'm kind of angled. And so now I'm able to use this target to back out and readjust myself and be ready for the next part. Another big thing too was the step count. A lot of people will overlook the step count and think, okay, well, this plan is 2 less steps, so it must be faster. For me, it does go into account, but it also matters on the flow, right? So these 2 targets I was able to eliminate a lot quicker than if I were to shoot these 2 targets and then go to the left, because of how much easier these targets are on the right. And there is more dead time to go into this right corner than there was dead time to go from this back left corner into the front left corner up here, just because of how the wall works and because you could shoot the open target much sooner. But it was this middle position that really made me change my mind in my stage plan. So you can see I'm back behind this wall a good amount, and there's a open target, a tuxedo, an open target, and then a pretty far no shoot that was pretty difficult. And there's another tuxedo here on the right. Couple reasons that I did this plan, but it was mainly because of this middle array. When you shot this tuxedo, you were basically static here if you're going to go left to right. So you would shoot this tuxedo on the move, and then you'd be static on these 3 where I could enter and then basically just kind of float on the open and the no shoot, because they were more high risk target, and I didn't want to drop points where I didn't need to. So I was then able to back out on the tuxedo. And then only minute thing here that I wish I did better was I wish I delayed my open target a little bit and got my left foot more into the front corner. You can see there's probably 2 or 3 inches of fault line where I could have been more left and set myself better up for that far open where I'm leaning So I could have gotten better points. I believe I shot Alpha Charlie on the far open, but it's still good enough for the stage win. So I was still happy with the run, but still things that I can learn from this run. Just because you win the stage or just because you win the match does not mean that you have nothing to learn. It just means that there's still stuff to analyze. It just reinforces that your process is working, but there's still stuff to refine. All right, so this was stage 4 of the match. So I saw some people draw on the no shoot and then shoot these two opens. The reason I didn't like that, because I'm a taller guy and I have longer arms, I knew I'd have to tuck in my gun to represent to this open target. So that's why I opted to shoot this open target and then do a half step into the no shoot where it's not adding a ton of variables. And then after that, you can see I immediately shift to the open target, and that's kind of more like a float as well, to set me up for this very rightmost open target, and just collecting good points. But I could have moved more aggressive on it, but for me, the more aggressive that I shoot on the easy targets, the more aggressive I try to shoot on the harder targets. So just maintaining the same level of focus and attention on every single target really helped me on this stage. Another thing I forgot to mention here is when you're blending positions and shooting on the move, how much ground do you have to cover and what targets are available, right? So what do I need to do to be in a constant state of collecting points while still not risking much and still gaining that momentum, right? So something that I really liked with my array here is by coming on this right target, it gave me enough time and opening up my splits. This is important as well because it let me set up perfectly for the activator sequence. So I got my second shot off, planted my left foot, and then as soon as I had an acceptable sight picture on the mini popper, I was able to just pull the shot and then start the sequence because that's the only really thing that's now keeping you here. So you can't see it in the third person, but there's 3 targets back here. I shot the first one coming in, and there's a middle target that you could see from both this corner and this front right corner. I opted to shoot it here because now I can back out, and it sets me up better for the next spot, right? So I always like to be forward thinking. What am I doing now, and what can I do to set me up better for the next part? This is all part of blending as well. And I'm not risking anything because it's an open target, and I know I can hit that target and collect good points on it. And it set me up perfect to do this big run here into this right open. You can see it in frame now, but this middle target is the target that I backed out on in this front left corner. Another reason I saved it as well is because I knew I wanted to shoot this left one coming up, but if I had shot these 2 going up, then I would have been too far forward, and it would have not set me up correctly for this open target in the port. And so I opted to shoot the open target, the big popper going up, and then while it's transitioning into the port, you can see my right foot is planted and facing towards the target, and I'm really nice and low, so I'm, again, not adding any input to the gun. And then from there, I can just shuffle back, keep my gun up in the same direction, and shoot the no-shoot without adding any risk. Originally, I was thinking of just shooting this one open target, and then the port, and then back to the big popper, and then back to the no-shoot, but because of how much swinging that would have added to the gun and to my whole body, I knew that it would have added a lot of input, and I'm not gaining anything, and I'm just risking more. So something that I look at when I'm blending is what am I gaining from this, and then what am I risking from this? Okay, so this is my last stage of the match, stage 5. The only stage planning things here to really consider were which target do you draw on first, and then where do you go in this back part. So I opted to shoot the no shoot first and get that out of the way so I can shoot more aggressively so I can then transition to these 2 open targets and then back out aggressively on this mini popper and then this open target. A lot of mental pressure here that was created just because of the position that I was in. So I'm super happy with myself to be able to just go up there and just remain confident in myself and my abilities, and knowing that I was fully capable of doing what I needed to do. It was just a matter of execution and making sure I was able to visualize enough and really ensure that I was seeing everything that I needed to see. And you can see on the mini popper, I'm not taking really big steps backing out. I'm just taking big enough steps to where I'm still able to retreat backwards, but I'm able to call good shots and not adding any excess input on the gun. Again, minimizing risk. And so after that open target, I was able to transition straight into this next open target here in the gap in the wall without adding any dead time. It was just a straight transition because I'm not dropping the gun. It's just blending these two positions together into one big position. And so there I had my first makeup, and the only makeup I was allowed to have on this run because I decided to not reload. And I knew if I had more than one makeup, I could have just reloaded into this open target, but I opted to just full send it and not risk any time, and just because I knew the rest of these targets I knew I could just nail. So a couple of reasons I decided to go to this right part first. Because you had this target here, I knew you could use it to shoot this target and then go straight into the next target. A lot of people were actually running around this corner as well. It's just the movement felt super awkward to me. So that's why I opted to shoot this target here and blend into these two like I did. And you can see again, like I could have come in a lot more aggressive and moved a lot more aggressive, but I knew with how risky the stage was going to be for me in the match placement, I just knew I wanted to come in nice and easy. Not necessarily easy, but I wanted to come in a little softer than I normally would on a stage like this and just be able to collect points and just not risk anything like makeups. But this was the full match breakdown for me. I'm going to leave my email and social media in the description so you can reach out for any questions. I'm always happy to help you guys. Thanks for watching.